Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Kajunge Irene from the group SWAI6, and our project is entitled A Knowledge-Guided Large Vision Module for Early Autism Screening in Resource-Constrained Settings. I'll be presenting today together with my other group mates, that is Kalanzi Shahida and Kamada Alex. Our supervisor is Dr. Galiwang. So this is the content of our presentation: the introduction, related work, problem statement, research, questions, objectives, contributions. So this slide basically has the content of all our presentation. So I'll move into the presentation deeper. So autism spectrum disorder affects over 1 in every 100 children globally. Research shows that autism's interventions is critical for better development outcomes. So basing on that, it is important that we do autism screening, but diagnosis is difficult. The gold standard methods are observational and subjective. They rely heavily on specialists' expertise, which often are unavailable in many countries. This creates barriers that delay getting help. So our project takes a step forward, solving the problem using AI. Specifically, we propose an estimation to analyze the movement patterns linked to autism while protecting privacy and keeping the system lightweight. That is our introduction. So moving on to the next slide. This is slide 3 for the related works, recent trends, and literature review. Previous studies have built video datasets for autism screening. For example, the SSBD dataset captured behaviors such as the arm flapping, head banging, and spinning, and more. More recently, the SSDB Plus expanded this work with more videos and a no class category, which makes models more realistic. On the methods side, early research used deep learning on raw videos, but the approach is heavy and less privacy friendly. Newer workflows at pose-based methods extracting body key points instead of a full video have come up because it's important that you have security. That's why newer works have come up, because we realized capturing the videos, the security of the faces of the children is no. So newer works came up whereby you just extract key points instead of a full video. On our project, it builds this simply by simplifying and strengthening the key points based on the approach, moving closer to our deployable solution. Slide 4, that is our problem statement. In our problem statement, we are going to be having 2. That's the domain application problem and the computation problem. First, the domain application problem. Current screening methods are subjective to time-consuming and specialists. Many families in resource-constrained settings simply cannot access them. So that is our domain problem, the application domain, that many parents, many families right now cannot access the autism screening diagnosis and disorder. So that becomes our domain application problem for today, in today's case. And our second problem is our computation problem. The computation problem is, given the sequences of human pose key points, basically the X and Y positions of the body joints, how can we automatically classify the behaviors such as arm flapping and banging or spinning? That computation problems comes after our domain problem, after we have identified our domain problem, and now we are working on it. We get now the computation problems, whereby they're telling us how can we automatically classify the behaviors that is like arm flipping, the head banging, how can we classify them? Which will take us to the next slide, which will be our research questions and the objectives. So basing on that, we get into a question, which is how can we build an explainable, resource-efficient AI framework for early autism screening that is viable and self-contained. So how can we do that? The only way to achieve that is by us setting aside a few objectives. So we set aside a few objectives. And what are the objectives? One, we develop a processing pipeline to turn a raw video into a structured key point of data. Then we have the engineer features, whereby engineer features that capture behaviors relevant to autism. We don't capture anything far. We capture only those that are relevant, such as the cases, the repetition. Then we move forward to implement an interruptible model that links prediction to clinical makers. Then we go to our fourth, which will be evaluate the model for both accuracy and explainability. So we are seeing that we can build an explainable, resource-efficient AI framework for early autism screening mainly by using these specific objectives. As I have taken you through, my next groupmate is going to be taking you through the next slides. That is slide 6. She'll be leading you through the next slides.
Hello, my name is Kalan Shahida, and I'm going to be taking you through the next slides. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the research and contributions of our outputs. First, we are developing a model. We developed a model that is functional. It has a functional pipeline, like process human pose key point data for analyzing movement patterns. Like the key points I'm talking about the arms, the arm movement, the head nodding, such key points. Then we also have we implemented a machine learning model to classify videos based on the presence of self-stimulatory behaviors. Those behaviors, I can say something like delayed speech. We can say something like lagging, head lag, head nodding, something like that. Then we identify the specific body key points that are the most important for the model's classification decisions. We classify, like we identify the body key points. That is, we are going to classify, like, let's say the head, the arms, the legs, such things that will help us to come to the model's classification decisions. Then we provided a clear reproducible example using pose estimation data for behavior analysis. Next, I'm going to talk about the methodology and system architecture. This system architecture is talking about our input, then the process, and then what we are going to get in the output. First of all, we feed in the data, but our data was a .pkl, and then after that, we pre-process it. In pre-processing, we had to resample and normalize the data, but we also had to clean the data and remove things that are going to bring errors. Then we also normalize the data in pre-processing. Then after we do feature extraction, whereby we get the mean and the standard deviations. Then later we do a random forest model, as we will explain in the next slide. And then the output, we get the results and the interpretation and the predictions. Then we start with the dataset description. We used an SSBD plus dataset. And this one is containing 914 sequences of pose key points, like with 17 body joints per frame. Then each sequence is labeled, like arm flapping, head banging, spinning. Like we label each frequency according to the behavior. Then this data set is this data set is relatively small, but it provides a good starting point. Like we have an example explanatory analysis where you can see we have the PCA graphs. These ones are used for projecting the features. As you can see, there's multiple features in the graphs as represented by the dots. Then we also do the random forest confusion matrix. Our random forest confusion matrix model is is good at giving promising results, especially in classifying the behaviors. One major advantage of this random forest confusion matrix is that it's interpretable. Like, it has a lot of interpretability. It shows which key point, like, for example, it shows like the wrists, the head, which key point is most predictive. This explainability is important because in clinical context, the doctors or maybe the nurses would want to know why the system made a certain prediction. Then next we have the feature importance, like the standard mean, the standard deviation graph, like it's showing the mean and the standard deviation. Then we have these graphs that are showing the original and the normalized data. Before we normalize the data, as you get, the red dot is on 0.0, and then since we have also normalized the data, it changes like that. Then this is also the same. It's showing the sequences of the dots before we normalize the data, and then after we normalize the data. Then we have the tables that are going to explain the first key points. Like the first key points, we are going to first explain the first 5 key points. We identify the key points using an ID like KP3, but the key points would be like arms, wrists, something like that. But this is the standard way of identifying them in the data set. So this first table is identifying the first 5 key points of by importance, like by importance, whereby there is a lot of importance, then that is the first key point. So it's identifying them by importance. Then the next table is doing key points by the first 10 key points by importance also. As you can see, the first key point has like the highest importance. Next, the model selection and deployment will be discussed by the next person.
Right. Hello, everyone. So my name is Commander Alex, and I'll be discussing which model did we choose and why we chose that model. So we chose the random forest model. So you may be wondering why we chose such a model. So the major reason was that this model was very fast and easy to train. Like, it was very efficient for us. Like, unlike other models which take a lot of time, take a lot of computational resources, this one was very easy. It fitted into the data set we had and processed that data set and learned in a very quick way. So on the part of resources, I can say that this model was like it could handle a lot of the 6 dimensional features. So this model, like, it could do everything, could fit in without anything overfitting. So another reason is that this model is very easy, like, for people to understand. What it output was very easy to interpret. So of those 3 factors, reasons why we say that no, we should choose this model. So how did we deploy the system? So this is the deployment pipeline, like how it all goes, as discussed in the system architecture diagram. Like, we have the input, which is just a video, which can be just uploaded. Then after we receive that raw, I mean when it's unprocessed. So we'll do the processing of that video, like, we'll extract the key points. Then after doing that part, now we go to the next step, which is called feature engineering. What I mean by feature engineering is that we now start the calculations, normalizations, calculating the mean, calculating the standard deviation. After we have got all that data, now we move to the next step, which is training our model. So after training our model using I'm talking about the random forest model. Then we get what we call the output, and the output are just predictions like the confidence score. It can be 90, 80, any. So, and the higher, the better. And the output, specifically explaining output, meaning output, which if we can read and understand. So, I will still talk about the product demonstration, something similar to what I talked about, how we implemented it. So, it's how our product also still works. So, a user just uploads a video, a very short, small video. Then our system starts processing that video. It extracts what is needed, what is important, now the key points, movements, the joints. Then after, it just returns the user. After that, the whole processing, which is done at our side, then the user just sees the predicted behavior, the confidence scores, and the explanation to whatever diagrams, whatever figures are coming out. Like, the system just simplifies the task and it says that there's a very likelihood of autism in this patient. So, and we also talk about the key IP assets in our project. So, we have two major key IP assets. First of all, you can say that we have the model. Yes, we have trained the random forest model using the SSBD dataset, and that's one asset. And then another asset, which may not be something like a tangible asset, but we have what we call the explainability method. What I mean is that we can know that this output, this feature, this graph means this. What the model's output means this, because you can have a model but you don't know what it means. So even having what it means is also an asset. So in conclusion, I can say that we have developed a working pipeline. So, and this pipeline, which is classifying the behaviors of autism, it has also achieved interpretability. Like, what the pipeline outputs, we can know what it means. So this whole process has given us a foundation where we can start from to move to the next steps of maybe integrating into bigger health systems. So I'll talk about the limitations, like what we faced. First of all, this model, this model is the data set, which was small. The SSBD class data set was something of approximately 900 samples. So this was a very small. We required something big. So as we further train the model, we need the data set which is at least bigger. Then this model also focuses on gross motor behaviors only, like movements, joint movements, body movements, but it misses to capture things like facial expressions, the eye gaze. So as we further develop this model, we should integrate these features like eye tracking, facial cognition. So what are the feature works? That's what I've been talking about. So in the future, we're going to expand this data set to ensure that it covers a larger set of annotated videos so that we capture more. Then we shall also start incorporating other models so that we can capture other things like audios, what. Then we also hope to partner with healthcare professionals to ensure that they approve this model and evaluate to see that what it does is not wrong, like it's predicting in the most effective way possible. So lastly, I would like to acknowledge our lecturer. Thanks to Dr. Galwango Marvin. You have done a great work guiding us. Also, would like to acknowledge the creators of the dataset, the SSBD dataset, for making it publicly free. Then also the Makerere University fraternity the IT department courses, guys who provided us access to internet tools. Thanks. Recording stop.